The Cincinnati Bengals have spent a lot of money this offseason keeping their star receivers. So, how will that affect how they approach the 2025 NFL draft? My name's Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we've got another 3-round mock draft for you here coming up. But before we do that, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, let us know what you think of the draft, and tackle that bell to get notified when videos come out. Ryan, so as we said, obviously Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, major paydays for them.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them and to Joe Burrow as well, and also all the fantasy owners, dynasty, and also redraft leagues who own those players because they can now be assured that they're going to have amazing single season stats, barring injuries, every single year now for the next 4 years. So, but with that though, how will they approach the draft? What are some of the key areas that they need to address? And one of the areas I still feel is going to be in the trenches on both sides of the ball. I feel like that's just going to be a primary concern for the Bengals. From just for as long as Joe Burrow's there. And so you got to do well in the trenches. I feel like that's an area, obviously, they have Trey Hendrickson on the defensive line side, but maybe has faltered a little bit. Some guys have left, some guys haven't progressed as they would have liked. And so here we had them getting him, Trey Hendrickson, a running mate, potential replacement as well, too. Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, you go look outside of Trey Hendrickson, they have had very little edge rush or pass rush presence. I think he was like 17 of their 30 something sacks. And so very little contributions from other guys. And Mykel Williams, while he didn't have the most amount of production in college, I think you go look just at his athleticism in specifically the Texas game when he was going up against Calvin Banks and Cameron Williams. He had a really good performance there. And so I think that is going to be a big selling point for the Bengals. Another big selling point is he's probably the best run defending edge rusher in this class. The dude just does not get moved around at all in the run game. I think you go look at what the Bengals were struggling with last year was, well, one, like the defense was just as porous as a sponge, but like they could not stop anything. And they were getting blown off the ball. And so hopefully Mykel Williams is the start of a rejuvenated Bengals defensive line that is actually competitive outside of Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, yeah, and so to me, I think it could be a lot of different other types of edge rushers. They probably won't go more for the. They will not go for more of the outside linebackers like the Mike Greens or Donovan Ezrakus. If that makes sense. Mykel Williams kind of fits that mold of their traditional guy of what they're looking for.
Yeah.
A little bit taller, a little bit bigger, fits that kind of Trey Hendrickson size, and that's kind of why they went after Miles Murphy a couple of years ago. But he just hasn't panned out as of yet. But if there's other guys, I think they could go after. Like, James Pierce Jr. is one guy that you mentioned. I think Shamar Stewart or maybe Nick Scorton might kind of also fit that more traditional defensive end role. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this first overall pick. I do believe it's going to be in the trenches. I don't think it's going to be tight end either. I mean, they re-signed Mike Gesicki to a 3-year deal as well. So it just makes me think just going to be more on the trench side, the trench warfare. But where they could potentially go, and where we have them going here in the second round, is secondary. Have them go with Darien Porter here, really address that secondary position overall as a whole. One of the areas too, I mean, just that defense last year was just an overall mess, but one of the areas too, it's just the secondary was just really, really struggling. They've spent some top 100 picks over the past several years on some guys like DJ Turner, Jordan Battle, Cam, Taylor Britt, and even Dax Hill as well. And so I think they're going to kind of go back to the well again and see if they just get some more talent in there and just make the best man win.
Yeah.
And so they do have a new defensive coordinator coming in. So maybe that will also help out with some of the changes as well. Maybe need a little bit more help from the front seven also, because Trey Hendrickson had a bunch of sacks, but it was a little production kind of outside of that. He was a vast majority of the sacks that they had last year. So maybe that also could have played a part in it. But either way, though, Darien Porter Ryan, he's a guy that you really like. What do you like about him and what he would bring to this Bengals secondary?
I mean, he's just a freak athlete. And you look at what he was able to do, and yeah, he's probably not the most technically refined corner that might be on the board. Like Siobhan Ravel might be a better corner right now, but Darien Porter's only been playing this position for a couple years. He was a wide receiver recruit, switched over to corner, and he just has made so much progress in the last couple seasons. I really like what he brings to the table, and athletically, just an absolute freak. So I think that this is a really good upside pick. there is a little bit of bust potential, but with that being said, I feel like this is a swing worth taking because if you can go and get a number one corner here at pick 49, and it just needs a little bit of development. I think that's something that you definitely go and do. You could also go with like an Omar Norman Lott and strengthen up that interior. Nick Emanwari is another one, and then Siobhan Ravel, who I already mentioned. But there was like a little bit of a run of offensive linemen and defensive linemen, I think, right before this. And so we just went with best player available at this point, and it just so happened to also be another need that the Bengals have. So uh wrapping things up here with the final pick here in the third round. We went and we got Cam Skattebo, the running back from Arizona State. He fell all the way down here to 81. I think he would be a really good complement to Chase Brown. And I think when you're talking about building out that running back room, Chase Brown is the smaller, shiftier back. He had a really good sophomore season with the Bengals. But I do think Cam Skattebo comes in and in short yardage situations, he can come in and really be that like downhill runner, bounce off, break some tackles.
Yeah.
And so I like the fit. He's a better receiver too than I feel like people give him credit for. And so I think when you talk about just good football players, I think this is a guy that you can bring in and really give a solid role early on in his career.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of teams kind of take this approach as well. Is have that kind of 1-2 running back punch. Like you have your running back between the 20s, who's really good. You're kind of 3 down back, but then you have like
Yeah.
your goal down back. It seems like teams are kind of reverting back to that type, just so then these guys don't get the wear and tear and get nearly as injured. Like very few guys are like Derrick Henry that you can kind of do it all with everything. But that being said, the Derrick Henry's typically not in for receiving downs. And so to your point about Cam Skattebo, like he can catch the ball a little bit better out of the backfield than most people. So I think maybe a little bit more versatility in the red zone. But Chase Brown's definitely going to be that 3 down back that they're going to lean on a lot. I will say they did sign Samaje Perine as well in free agency. So now looking back at this pick, maybe they go a different route. But also, too, I'm just very curious on where Cam Skattebo is going to go because of all the other running backs, I feel like these guys are round 2 at best, early round 3 like at worst. Cam Skattebo, I don't know how teams are going to value him just because he is a little bit slower than most of the other running backs, but he's got that grit, he's got that toughness that you're looking for. So that's where just what's going to be the overall philosophy mindset that teams are going to go after. So like
Yeah.
maybe just an example, the Bears have DeAndre Swift, and so maybe if they like him in between the 20s, he can kind of be that veteran Jahmyr Gibbs comp, and then Cam Skattebo can come in and be like a younger David Montgomery, so to say, and he said the goal line back guy. So that's just where it's
Yeah.
interesting on how I think they're going to value him overall and where he's going to end up going. But that being said, though, too, like he seems like a great locker room guy at Arizona State. I remember watching him over the past couple years, and you just see this guy is just got the motor of it, like everybody who owns a boat wants this kind of motor that Cam Skattebo has because it's just
Yeah.
going and going and going. So, but that's the Bengals 3 round mock draft. Very interesting on how the Bengals are going to handle this as well. They do have like a lot of money set aside over the next couple of years for just like 3 players essentially. So they're really going
Yeah.
to need to draft well. And they've found some good guys or some guys that have been bust or maybe not bust, maybe too early to say bust, but just haven't panned out just yet. So it just with all the money that is set aside. Now that being said, though, too, as the cap space keeps on growing and growing, that proportion of what is being dedicated to their 3-star players will just go down and down every single year. So I think they're in most cases going to be best player available, probably with a primary focus on the trenches, just all around, with a sprinkle of I think secondary or maybe additional skill position players in between.
Yeah, no, I do think like a big focus on the trenches. I know we only drafted one guy there, but I think on day 3 you're going to get some pretty good value in the trenches, whether it's offensive line or defensive line or even linebackers. There's a pretty good group of linebackers, I think, on day 3. So I think this is a really good draft for the Cincinnati Bengals. I've been
Yeah.
saying this all offseason is uh, this is the supporting cast draft. You're not going to go out like the star of your franchise was last year. This is the supporting cast. These are a lot of the guys that are going to come in and do a lot of the dirty work. And so I feel like if you can go out and if you're the Bengals, really find some guys that can just play specific roles for you, that's a really successful draft for this class because they already have the star players. They just paid Jamar Chase. They just paid T. Higgins. Obviously, Joe Burrow is there. So I do think that this is a really good draft for the Cincinnati Bengals to really go out and improve this team. But with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Bengals 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? None of that. We'll see you guys next time.